In this video on programming basics, we're going to be talking about variables. See? I knew you'd like it. More to come. So variables are basically places in memory that you can put stuff in as a part of your program. And the way that I like to illustrate this is thinking of a post office like memory. Have you ever been to the post office? Well, most post offices that you go to, you'll see walls of stuff that looks like this picture in the background. Basically post office boxes. Now, if you look a little closer at those post office boxes, you're going to find that while this picture shows them all kind of looking the same, you're going to find that they're actually in a lot of different shapes and sizes. See this old picture of a post office box, a set of boxes, and they've got big ones and small ones and medium ones. Well, post office boxes, while post office boxes comes in all shapes and sizes, your memory does too, the memory within your computer. So here are a couple of concepts that we're going to learn. First of all, sometimes you need a place to store something within your program so that you can come back and use it later. That might be if you have the person using your program type something in, like you ask them a question and you want an answer. It might be just storing some kind of a number that you're going to do a calculation with later. Whatever the purpose may be, there are definitely going to be times when you're going to want to store something. And that temporary storage we call variables. And just like these post office boxes in the picture, variables have different sizes or types of storage that you have to consider. In fact, each of these post office boxes and each variable that you're going to use in a program have really three things. They have a name. A name of a variable equates to the number on the front of a post office box, right? They have a type. That's the same thing as the size, what you can put into it. In some post office boxes, all you can put in them are letters, while others you can put a whole big package in them. And then the last thing that they're going to have is a value. Now that value in a variable equates to what is inside of that post office box. What are you storing in it? So it's going to have all three of those things for it to be useful to you. Probably the simplest way for me to show you how a variable works within a program is to simply take a couple of numbers and add them together and display the results. So we've created a new class here, and within the main we're going to do exactly that. Now remember what we learned. We learned that every variable has a name, a type, and a value. And in Java, the way that this is going to work out syntactically, or in syntax, is actually this way. The type, the name, an equal sign, and the value. Okay, so we'll be setting the value. So we're going to start out by using a type of an int. So an int is an integer in Java, and it's a kind of smaller integer. An integer is a number that doesn't have a decimal point. It can be negative or positive, but it's a relatively small number. If you think about a post office box, it's a box that would hold a not too large of a number. Okay, so that's our type. We're going to call this one number 1, and we're given a value of 500. Now let's do it again with number 2. Let's give that one a value of 1,000. Now I told you that you're going to want to temporarily store stuff in memory so you can retrieve it later. Well, we're going to do a little calculation here of these two numbers, and we're going to take the result of that calculation and we're going to store it in another variable. If I could spell 3 right. But in this case, rather than it equaling a constant like 500 or 1,000, it's going to equal number 1 plus number 2. And now let's just simply output this. System out print line. Showed you that in an earlier video. Let's say the sum of these two numbers is, we're going to use a plus here. It doesn't mean add. It actually means concatenate. Concatenate is a big word that we sometimes use in programming that means to put put one result up against the other one, or right after it. So the result of this should have this literal string. The sum of these two numbers is, and then the result of the calculation out of memory that we put into memory in the mailbox number 3. So let's save and run this, and let's see what happens. And so what you will see here is our result, which is down here at the bottom. The sum of these two numbers is 1,500. So a really simple example of us using a couple of 3 memory variables or post office boxes out there in memory to store some values, take a computation and put it in a value, and then display it. This is really the most basic of all variable examples, but I hope it will help you to start to understand how variables work.